Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!
And g'day legends, it is Jai, that Aussie Metal Guy here again with crank.com. Today I've got something real special for you. I'm getting to talk with rock and roll powerhouse, a man who's known for his mystique, musicianship and monstrous riffs, none other than Mr. Jeff Martin from the Tea Party. Jeff is stepping into the spotlight once again, but this time it's not just about his own iconic catalogue. He's joining an incredible lineup of artists alongside Shane Nicholson and Richie Lewis, which I know a bloody lot of Aussies know. You've had a close affinity with Australia for a number of years. We are here to pay tribute to one of the greatest, Neil Young. It's all happening to a very special event called Celebrating Neil Young from Harvest to Harvest Moon, a night full of classic deep cuts, raw emotion, honouring the music that helped shape a generation and is still shaping generations. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me, mate.
Man, your enthusiasm is catchy. Right?
Always a pleasure to be talking music, mate. Neil Young, he's an absolute bloody legend, unlike yourself. What does his music mean to you personally, and what kind of drew you to do this tribute for him?
Okay. Well, what drew me to do this tribute was that a few years ago, I think it was 6 or 7, the same company called Metropolis Touring, Fraser is the guy's name that runs it. He put together the REM celebration that I was a part of, and that was so successful that it was something that myself and the band leader, Paul McDonald, when it was all said and done and we were having a couple glasses of wine after the last show, we were like, if we ever did this again, who would we want to do? And we both, it was almost like, synchronicity. It was both of us said, Neil Young, got to do that. Just the catalog is just, it's begging for interpretation, right? And I've been a fan of Neil's. Like I first really got introduced to Neil Young's music through the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young record, Deja Vu, right? Like I wore that cassette out. Yes, that's how old I am. I had a cassette of it. And then, also being Canadian, as Neil is, but I spent a lot of time like in the Muskoka Lake region of Ontario, which is like known as like cottage country. And man, like if you had a campfire going at nighttime, pretty much all you would hear at the different cottages would be Neil Young's music. It's just a part of our psyche in Canada. And so, when Fraser got in touch with my manager to see if I wanted to be a part of this, I mean, of course, like I just jumped at the chance. And I was very fortunate that I got, first dibs on songs to pick, right? So I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but the 5 that I've chosen, they have a really good, over the course of Neil Young's career, these 5 songs are definitely some of the milestones. So,
yeah. Side note, I listen to Neil Young on a tape cassette, so I'm giving away my age a bit as well. But he's always been such a timeless artist. Like my mum was playing Neil Young, and that carried over to me. And I was like playing the Harvest album again last night and today, and I was just reminded about how timeless and how impactful his songwriting is. You could take those songs today and listen to them, and they have such a meaningful impact as they did at the time he wrote it, with everything going on. I think it was like 1972 or 1973 when he dropped that, and the world was in such a turmoil, and it's still going through these times. The times are changing, but they're staying the bloody same too.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think the one thing that makes Neil's music so timeless is the simplicity of the music, and I'm not, that's not
No.
I'm not trying to be derogatory, but it's just that there's a beautiful simplicity to his songcraft. And that's why it is timeless. It doesn't get dated. You know what I mean? And just an incredible musician, and like the integrity that oozes from this man, like still to this day,
Yep.
is just, it's something to behold. Man.
I was pretty proud of him making that stand with Spotify way back
Oh yeah.
when he did that as well. And he did spark a passion for me for singer-songwriters, and yourself. You have such a distinct, powerful voice and guitar style. How do you take that and channel it into the songs you've chosen for Harvest Moon or Old Moon, or while still honoring Neil's original vibe?
Well, here's the thing: is that I just want to make it quite clear that this concert, like that we're doing of Neil Young songs, it's not a tribute band. Like tribute bands go on stage to try to sound exactly like the said artist, right? And this is not that. This is an interpretation of the man's music. And so, that being said, as a guitar player, Neil, when he would use the guitar to write songs, like most of his stuff was in like just standard tuning, right? And what I've done over the course of my career with the Tea Party is, really stretch the limits of the guitar, like using alternate tunes. So I'm going to apply my guitar style and my tunings to Neil Young songs, and it's going to give it like a whole fresh, like a new sheen of sorts, But I'm doing it with absolute respect. So I think people are going to they're going to notice, but they're going to. I think it's going to be a positive reaction. So.
Well, that's kind of what I've got in here as a related question, but we'll touch on it now, because tribute shows can be sometimes more about nostalgia, but this one kind of definitely really, really feels like a celebration of his music. With you, Shane, and Richie bringing all something special to his music to be able to celebrate it, but do something of your own as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and Shane and Richie, incredible talents, So, and I've never actually met them personally. So we're all going to get together in August, to start rehearsing. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the songs that they've chosen and how they're going to interpret them and all that. And it promises to be a night of magic, that's for sure.
Yeah, and your music has always been that blur between rock, blues, folk, Eastern, Western, all these different influences in your music as well. And Neil's kind of done the same way with the fusion of his genres. Do you kind of feel a little bit of a kindred spirit there musically with the man?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, the one thing that I loved about Neil's music was that, the country elements that would come into it, So, like, for instance, I have a guitar that rarely leaves my recording studio. It's a 71 Fender Telecaster, but it has a mechanism in it called a B-bender. And what a B-bender does is it simulates like a pedal steel, like a country pedal steel sort of thing, And so I'll be using that for one of the songs that I've chosen, and so it's going to be fun for me as well, because with my arsenal of electric guitars and acoustic guitars, some of them I've never seen, like outside of my recording studio. So I'm bringing them out, and it's going to be something special.
Yeah, and I know you don't want to give away too much of the track listings, but is there any tracks that you're really pumped to kind of perform or be a part of the performance as well, or any ones that kind of give you a little bit of pause and go, okay, this might be a little bit of a challenge?
I see. I would answer that question, but then letting the cat out of the bag, I'm not going to answer that question.
And yourself, Neil's always known for being brutally honest, raw, and himself in his songwriting, as someone who's also never shied away from deep themes like that. How do you approach that kind of emotional and honesty on stage?
Well, first of all, you make sure with Neil Young's, work, you get the words right. That's important. And I'm rehearsing, like, I started rehearsing last week, even though it's not coming up till August. Like, I just want to make sure that, I do it absolute justice. But I'll tell you a story. Back when the Tea Party was recording The Edges of Twilight, we were in Los Angeles at the famous A&M Studios. And we were recording in the big room, and that's when we had all the instruments, like the sitars and the sarod and everything else, and blah blah blah. And we had Roy Harper guest on one of our songs. It's a secret track at the end of The Edges of Twilight called Time. And for, people that don't know who Roy Harper is, like, massive influence on like Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Like he was the Bob Dylan of England, in the late 60s, right? So he was with us in the big room, and we're tracking, for Edges of Twilight, tracking the song Time. And then in the smaller room, Pearl Jam is there with Neil Young, doing Mirrorball, right? So it was like the two young bands with these two great, just legends, and they knew each other, Neil and Roy. So they're like, but like the great thing about Neil, like he comes into our studio, so the big room at A&M, and he sees all the exotic instruments and everything, right? And he's like, this is really cool, man. This is really cool. Just make sure you don't ruin it with like, too many synthesizers. I was like, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And From the Harvest to Harvest Moon is not just a musical art, but it is a thematic and emotional one going through all those albums. How do you see that evolution reflected in Neil's songwriting and, being able to translate that massive period on stage as well?
Well, it's going to be done with a lot of love. I mean, the man certainly, he had his trials and tribulations, especially in the 70s, and you can definitely hear it echoed in the sentiments of a lot of the music that he wrote. Like our responsibility as artists is to interpret, those emotions and make sure that, they're well represented in our interpretations on the evening.
Yeah, and you guys are bringing this to Australia first, which I'm pretty excited about. The Tea Party, Tumbleweed, and of course Shane Nicholson. He is a multiple ARIA winner, Golden Guitar winner as well, an amazing musician. It must be really cool to kind of get over here to Australia and kind of play this for the fans. How's it feel kind of with that getting over here in Australia and the fans and the affinity we've had for you guys as well all these years?
Well, my friend, I'm calling you from my home where we're speaking right now. My home is in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland.
Oh, hey, that's where I'm from originally, dude. I'm from Brisbane, man. I'm from Brisbane, dude. Hey.
Well, so
I bet you're
got
glad.
a beautiful home in the Blackall Range,
Beautiful there. Beautiful.
so near the Glasshouse Mountains.
Yep.
And,
know it well.
yeah, I've been here for about 5 years, so I'm already here in Australia, man. You guys can't get rid of me.
Yeah, that's good. We're glad to bloody have you, mate. It's absolutely unreal. And finally, what would you say to any of the Neil Young fans out there, or even the younger crowd who haven't had a chance to dig into his music and kind of, why they should be coming along to his show? It goes without saying for me.
Because it will give you, especially with the young ones, it'll give you a firm education into what real music actually sounds like.
Damn straight. Everybody, you need to get along and celebrate Neil Young from Harvest to Harvest Moon through Metropolis touring. As we mentioned, it's going to be an unreal tour. I will be there in Adelaide for September, but it is kicking off August 22nd at Brisbane and at the Trivet there. Then 23rd August, Metro Theatre in Sydney. As I mentioned, the 11th of September, Adelaide at the Gov. Rounding it all out, 12th of September, Melbourne, 170 Russell Street. Everybody needs to get along there and celebrate Neil Young as well. It's not just a gig, it's an experience, a tribute, and a reminder of how timeless great songwriting really is. Jeff, do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, mate?
No, buddy. Like I said at the top of this interview, your enthusiasm is definitely very, very catchy. It's addictive. So thank you very much.
Absolute bloody pleasure, mate. Can't wait to catch you in Adelaide. Cheers, dude.
Thanks, Jai. Okay.
Awesome.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai, That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.